I'll give you $5,000 if you serve me in Russian. The millionaire mocked the waitress. What she said changed everything. Before we start, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. And at the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. I'll give you $5,000 if you serve me in Russian. Dmitry Volkov's deep, arrogant voice cut through the restaurant like lightning. The millionaire, known from magazine covers, sat at the center table, surrounded by executives, champagne, and loud laughter. Everything about him screamed power. The tailored suit, the smug smile of someone who always wins, the look of a man who believes the world revolves around him. But now everyone was looking not at him, but at the woman standing in front of him. Ashley Garcia, the waitress with perfect posture, calm eyes but steady. She held a silver tray of glasses, and the challenge hung in the air, cruel and clear. Dmitry smirked, resting his chin on his hand. "Come on, $5,000 just to serve me in Russian," he repeated, drawing out every word, laughing like a man playing with a new toy. The executives burst out laughing, and one even raised his phone to secretly record it. Ashley took a deep breath. Her heart pounded in her chest. Then, with a calmness that felt almost theatrical, she tilted her head slightly and replied, in perfect, crystal-clear Russian, with native pronunciation, "Would you like me to start with the wine, or with a lesson in manners?" The room froze. The sound of that language, spoken so flawlessly and unexpectedly, turned laughter into stunned silence. Dmitry blinked. For a second, he thought he'd heard wrong. His confident expression shattered like glass. Shaman in a red dress whispered, "Oh my God." A waiter stopped in the aisle, mouth open. Even the pianist in the corner stopped playing. Ashley didn't raise her voice, didn't change her tone. She simply returned the insult with a calm that cut deeper than any shout. Dmitry tried to laugh, a short, nervous, awkward sound. "Nice accent," he muttered, but his voice cracked. She gave a small smile, eyes steady. "Thank you. I learned from someone who respects their words." Then, without waiting for a reply, she turned and walked away, her steps firm. The whole room watched her move, as if no one remembered how to breathe. The silence only broke when one executive, trying to lighten the mood, joked, "Well, Dmitry, looks like you found yourself a teacher." But no one laughed. Minutes later, Ashley leaned against the counter, her heart still racing. Lucia, her coworker, whispered, panicked, "Are you crazy? That guy is Dmitry Volkov, the man who buys companies like people buy coffee." Ashley grabbed a napkin and took a deep breath. "Then maybe he can buy a mirror and learn what respect looks like." Lucia's eyes widened. "You could get fired for that." "Maybe, but at least I'll walk out with my dignity." Meanwhile, Dmitry sat still. Guests whispered. A waiter cleared untouched plates. He stared at the door Ashley had walked through. There was something about her, something that completely threw him off balance. "Who is that woman?" he asked quietly. The dinner ended in an awkward silence. Guests left quickly, avoiding the obvious topic. Dmitry stayed a moment longer, alone, staring at his half-full glass of wine. He pulled out his wallet, took out a few bills, and left them on the table. $5,000, exactly. When Ashley returned, he said, trying to sound calm, "I paid what I promised." She looked at the money and replied firmly, "I don't accept tips that come with a side of humiliation." Dmitry held her gaze for a moment, as if trying to understand her. But she had already turned around and gone back to work. Later that night, outside, the cold wind brushed Ashley's face as she walked through the glowing city streets. Manhattan buzzed with noise, but inside her, there was quiet. "You should have kept your mouth shut," a voice inside her said. But another answered, "No." Silence never changed anything. At home, she was greeted by her younger brother, Nico, who appeared in the hallway with a mischievous smile. "You look like someone who just won a war." Ashley laughed, kicking off her shoes. "Something like that." "Did you bring food?" "In the fridge." As the boy devoured dinner, she watched him tenderly. Since their mother passed away, Nico was her world. Everything she did was for him. But something about tonight left a mark. It wasn't just anger, it was something deeper, something strange, like fate had opened a door without warning. Elsewhere in the city, at the top of a glass skyscraper, Dmitry Volkov poured himself a glass of whiskey. The city sparkled below, but he didn't feel proud. He felt something he couldn't name. He picked up his phone, opened the browser, and typed her name, Ashley Garcia, La Fiore Restaurant. Almost instantly, the notifications started pouring in. News, videos, memes. Waitress teaches arrogant billionaire a lesson. The classiest comeback of the year. Russian millionaire gets humiliated during dinner. Dmitry clicked on one of the videos. There he was, laughing, provoking, and then her response, that steady gaze, the flawless Russian phrase, the words that silenced an entire dining room. Millions of views, comments in several languages, and a feeling he hadn't felt in a long time. Shame. The next morning, the restaurant was in chaos. Lucia rushed to Ashley, eyes wide. The owner is furious. He said Volkov called asking to speak to you. Ashley went pale. What? He said he's coming, in person. Her heart raced, her hands were sweating. But her expression, the same one that faced down a billionaire, stayed firm. Then let him come. The morning at La Fiore felt like a circus with no tent. Reporters crowded the sidewalk. Curious customers were asking for a table just to see the famous waitress, and the phone wouldn't stop ringing. Ashley tried to keep up with her routine, but every step she took was followed by stares, whispers, and cell phones pointing in her direction. Lucia appeared at her side, nearly tripping over her tray. Ash, people are asking for your autograph, on photos they found online. Ashley rolled her eyes while balancing 3 plates of pasta with white sauce. Great, I'm a tourist attraction now. They just forgot to sell tickets. Aren't you nervous? Nervous? Of course I am. But if I stop to think, I'll fall apart. So I'll just keep serving pasta and pretend I'm invisible. Lucia gave a nervous laugh, then turned serious. He's really coming, Ash. Volkov, it's confirmed. Ashley paused for a second, took a deep breath, straightened her apron and lifted her chin. Well, then I'll serve him like I serve any other customer. Professionally, with a touch of polite indifference. You're crazy. I know, but at least I'm a crazy woman with dignity. The hours dragged on like the clock was running in slow motion. Every time the restaurant door opened, Ashley's stomach turned. But it wasn't him. Not yet. Until around noon, the door opened, and there he was, Dmitry Volkov, alone. No entourage, no executives laughing around him, no champagne. Just him in a simple gray suit, hands in his pockets, his eyes less arrogant, and more lost. The entire restaurant froze. All the waiters stood still like badly placed statues. Even the chef peeked through the kitchen window. Ashley's heart beat faster, but her face stayed neutral. She grabbed her notepad and walked toward him with her usual posture. Good afternoon. How many in your party? Dmitry looked at her. There was something different about him. Less show, more hesitation. Just me. And I'd like you to be the one to serve me. She blinked slowly, like she was processing a bad joke. Of course, that's my job. She led him to a table near the window. He sat, but didn't open the menu. He just watched her. Ashley crossed her arms, still holding the notepad. Can I take your order, or are you going to keep staring like I'm a sculpture? He swallowed hard. Tried to smile, but didn't even convince himself. I came to apologize. Ashley tilted her head, like she wasn't sure she heard right. Apologize? For what exactly? For the humiliating offer or the attempt to turn me into a joke? Dmitry opened his mouth, but she kept going before he could say a word. Let me guess. You woke up this morning, saw the viral video, realized how bad you looked, and thought, I'll go there and act like a decent guy. Am I right? He closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, he looked genuinely ashamed. That's not it. Then what? I didn't think. I acted on impulse. I thought it would be funny, but funny for who? For you? For your friends? Because it sure wasn't for me. Dmitry said nothing. Ashley took a deep breath and let it out slowly, like releasing air from a balloon that's too full. Look, I accept your apology, but you didn't come here just to be polite. You came to try to erase something that can't be hidden. He widened his eyes. No one had ever spoken to him like that. And what exactly is it I can't hide? That you felt small, maybe for the first time in your life. The impact of those words was clear. Dmitry didn't respond. He just looked down, like he'd been punched by something invisible. Ashley turned to walk away, but before she left completely, she glanced back over her shoulder. Are you going to order something, or did you just come to talk? Coffee, black. Be right back. As she walked away, Dmitry stayed still. He watched how she balanced trays with 3 plates, how she smiled kindly at an elderly lady, how she helped a new waiter carry a heavy dish. There was something about her he couldn't quite name. It wasn't beauty, though she was beautiful. It wasn't charm, though she had that too. It was dignity. A kind of dignity that didn't need an expensive suit or a famous last name. A few minutes later, Ashley came back with the coffee. She placed the cup on the table gently, but without ceremony. Anything else? Can I ask you something? Depends on the question. Where did you learn Russian? Ashley crossed her arms. My mom was a translator. I grew up hearing 3 languages at home. Russian was one of them. And she passed away 5 years ago. Dmitri grew serious. I'm sorry. Me too. He took a sip of coffee. He wanted to say something else but couldn't find the words. Ashley noticed and with a slight smile said, if you want to sit in silence, go ahead. Just don't look at me like I'm a piece of art in a museum. I've got work to do. And she walked off. From across the room, Lucia was watching everything with wide eyes. As Ashley walked by, she whispered, are you brave or just crazy? A bit of both. Dmitri stayed in the restaurant for almost an hour. He ordered more coffee, ate very little, but he watched everything. And when he finally got up to leave, he left a $100 bill on the table. Ashley saw it, picked it up, and followed him to the door. Hey, you forgot your change. He turned, surprised. Keep it. I don't want it. She held out the money. Dmitri looked at her, then at the bill, and gave a faint smile. You're stubborn. And you're pushy. Just take it. He took it. And before walking out, he said softly, thank you. Really? Ashley just nodded. He left. And for the first time since the night before, she felt like maybe, just maybe, that man wasn't as terrible as he seemed. But the peace didn't last. Minutes later, the restaurant phone rang. The manager picked up and turned pale. She hung up and walked straight to Ashley. We need to talk. Now. Her tone was serious, cold. Ashley felt her stomach drop. Did something happen? Yes, and it involves you. They stepped into the office. The manager, Helen, a middle-aged woman with glasses and her hair pulled into a tight bun, crossed her arms and sighed. Ashley, you know I like you. You're a good worker, on time, polite, but what? But the video went viral. Now the press won't stop calling. There are reporters at the door, customers coming in just to see you. This isn't good for the restaurant. Ashley clenched her fists. I didn't do anything wrong. I know, but the owner is worried. He thinks this might hurt La Fiore's image. Hurt it. I stood up for myself. I didn't curse. I didn't yell. I didn't cause a scene. I know, dear, but the truth is, he wants you to take a few days off until things calm down. Ashley's legs felt weak. Time off? That sounds like a suspension in disguise. Helen looked away. It's not a suspension. It's just precaution. Precaution. Ashley repeated the word like poison. Got it. She left the office with her head held high, but her heart in pieces. Lucia ran after her. Ash, what happened? They sent me home, until things calmed down. But that's not fair. I know, but there's no point in fighting it now. She grabbed her things, changed clothes, and left through the back door, avoiding the reporters. She walked through the streets of Manhattan, her eyes watery, but not letting a single tear fall. Meanwhile, across the street, inside a car with tinted windows, Dmitri was watching everything. He saw Ashley walk out, saw how she quickly wiped her eyes, and felt something strange, heavy, and uncomfortable in his chest. Before he could think twice, Lucia knocked on the car window. He rolled it down, surprised. What do you want? She looked at him with anger. I think she's getting fired because of you. The words hit like a punch. Dmitri opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Lucia went on. You joked, laughed, humiliated her, and now she's the one paying the price. I hope you sleep well tonight. And she walked away. Dmitri sat there, alone in the car, the engine off, silence thick as lead. For the first time in a long while, he felt bad about something he couldn't control. Not yet. 3 days dragged on like 3 weeks. Ashley stayed home, trying not to check her phone every 5 minutes. But it was impossible. The notifications didn't stop. Messages from friends, reporters asking for interviews, even brands wanting her to promote products online. Dignity influencer, joked Nico while eating a bowl of cereal on the couch. You're a meme now, sis. What an honor, Ashley replied sarcastically, wrapped in an old blanket. Always dreamed of being famous for putting a billionaire in his place. Well, at least you did it with class. Class doesn't pay rent, Nico. He stopped chewing and looked at her, more serious now. They're gonna call you back, right? Ashley forced a smile. Sure, any day now. But the truth was she wasn't so sure. On the fourth day the phone rang. It was Helen. Ashley, I need you to come to the restaurant. Today. It's urgent. Her tone was different. Colder, more formal. Ashley felt her stomach turn. Is everything okay? Just come, please. She hung up. Ashley stared at the phone like it was about to explode. Nico showed up in the doorway. Who was it? The manager. She wants me to go in. That's good, right? Or terrible? She took a shower, put on her black pants and white blouse from the uniform, tied her hair back in a tight ponytail, and left. Manhattan was sunny, but it felt like she was walking under a gray cloud. When she got to La Fiore, something felt off. No reporters at the door, no curious onlookers, just the usual activity. She walked in through the front entrance. The dining room was empty, except for Helen, who stood by a table in the center with her arms crossed. And next to her, the owner of the restaurant, Gerald Foster. A man in his early 50s, gray hair, flawless suit, and a serious expression. Ashley took a deep breath and walked up to them. Good afternoon. Gerald didn't smile. Please, have a seat. She sat. The silence felt like a heavy stone in her chest. Helen began. Ashley, you know why you're here. I think so. Gerald leaned forward, fingers interlaced on the table. We value your work. You've always been an outstanding employee, but what happened last week brought attention we didn't expect. Ashley felt her throat tighten, but kept her voice steady. I understand, but I didn't do anything wrong. We're not saying you did, but the situation got out of hand. The press, the videos, the comments, all of it affects the restaurant's image. So what do you want? Gerald hesitated. Helen looked away. We want you to make a public statement, an apology. Ashley blinked, stunned. An apology for what? For standing up for myself? No, for the way everything spread. We need to calm things down. Calm things down? Ashley felt the anger rising but kept her tone in check. I'm not the one who embarrassed him. He humiliated me first. Gerald sighed. I understand your side, but... No, you don't. Ashley stood up, hands shaking. I've worked here for 3 years, always on time, polite, professional, and now you want me to apologize publicly for defending my dignity? Ashley, please. No. She shook her head. I won't do it. Fire me, suspend me, do what you want, but I won't apologize for something I didn't do wrong. Total silence. Helen looked at Gerald, who seemed at a loss for words. Before he could respond, the restaurant door opened, and Dmitry Volkov walked in. Everyone turned. He looked different, more serious, more determined. He walked straight to the table without greeting anyone. Sorry to interrupt, but I need to say something. Gerald stood up, clearly surprised. Mr. Volkov, what are you doing here? Dmitry ignored the question and looked directly at Ashley. She stared back, confused and angry. I came to let you know, Dmitry said, still looking at her, but speaking loud enough for everyone to hear, that yesterday I bought part of the investor group that owns this restaurant. Gerald turned pale. What? 30% of the shares. Enough to have a voice in decisions. Helen's eyes widened. Ashley stood speechless. Dmitry finally looked at Gerald. And my first decision is this. If she leaves, I leave too, along with the investment contract. The room was so quiet you could hear the air conditioner hum. Gerald stammered, but this is my decision, final. Ashley stood, blood boiling. Wait a second. What do you think you're doing? Dmitry looked at her, fixing a mistake. No, you're trying to control me again, with money. That's not it? Then what is it? Ashley stepped closer, eyes firm. I didn't need you to protect me. I know how to take care of myself. He looked down, ashamed. I know, I just didn't want to make the same mistake again. Gerald tried to speak, but his voice was shaky. Mr. Volkov, maybe we can talk privately. No need. I've said what I came to say. Dmitry turned to leave, but before walking out, he looked at Ashley one last time. You don't need to thank me or accept it. Just don't apologize for something you didn't do. And then he left. The silence that followed was as heavy as concrete. Gerald sat down, rubbing his face. This is complicated. Helen just shook her head, stunned. Ashley stayed standing, heart pounding, mind spinning. Can I go now? Gerald nodded yes, without looking at her. Ashley stepped out the side door, breathing fast, trying to take it all in. In the days that followed, the restaurant went back to normal. Or almost. The press kept speculating. Photos of Ashley and Dmitry together, even if they were just for moments at the restaurant, went viral on social media. The Billionaire and the Waitress, an unlikely romance? Dmitry Volkov buys part of restaurant to protect employee. Did love blossom in the middle of a scandal? Ashley read the headlines in disbelief. Love? What love? I barely know the guy. Lucia, who had gone back to work alongside her, laughed. But admit it, it's kind of romantic. Like a modern fairy tale. A fairy tale where the princess didn't ask to be rescued. Details. Ashley sighed as she adjusted the plates on the tray, but things felt different at work. People whispered when she walked by. Customers recognized her and asked for photos. Others asked personal questions. So are you and Volkov dating? Is he as handsome in person? Are you going to marry him? Ashley gave polite smiles and firm no's, but inside, she was drained. A week later, while she was cleaning a table, Lucia walked up with a worried look. Ash, someone's taking your picture again. Outside. Ashley looked out the window. 3 people were standing with their phones pointed at the restaurant. That was the last straw. That night, she asked to speak with Helen. I want to resign. Helen was shocked. What? Why? Because I can't take it anymore. The stares, the gossip, the photos. I don't want to be remembered as the waitress who talked back to a millionaire. I want to be remembered for who I really am. Helen tried to reason with her, but Ashley had made up her mind. I'll work through my notice, but after that, I'm done. Helen sighed, defeated. If that's what you want, it is. The next day, word spread. Dmitry heard about it through a contact at the restaurant and showed up there, desperate. He found Ashley in the parking lot packing things into her car. You can't do this. She turned, surprised, then crossed her arms. Of course I can. It's my life. But you love working here. I did. Past tense. Dmitry took a step forward. I ruined everything, didn't I? Ashley gave a humorless laugh. No, you just sped things up. Let me fix this. Please. You can't fix it, Dmitry. Not with money. Not with influence. Some things don't have an easy fix. He stayed silent, powerless. Ashley opened the car door, but before getting in, she looked at him one last time. Thanks for trying. Really. But I need to move on. My way. And she drove off. Dmitry stood there, watching the car disappear around the corner, feeling an emptiness he couldn't name. The next morning, Ashley woke up late. She made coffee, sat on the couch, and tried to think about her next step. Then the doorbell rang. She opened the door. No one was there. But on the ground, there was a sealed white envelope with her name written by hand. She picked it up, went back inside, and opened it slowly. Inside was a plain card and an invitation. The Volkov Foundation invites Ashley Garcia to the scholarship event. Date, Saturday, 7 p.m. She stared at the paper, puzzled, and on the back a handwritten note. You deserve more than serving tables. Come see what I've prepared for you. D. Ashley stood there, holding the invitation, her heart racing. And for the first time in days, she felt something different. Curiosity. Ashley looked at the invitation as if it were a riddle she couldn't solve. Nico walked into the room, still in pajamas, rubbing his eyes. What's that? An invitation to a charity event. Cool, think there'll be free food? Ashley laughed. Probably, but I don't know if I'll go. Why not? It's free, there's food, and you don't really have anything else to do right now. Thanks for the brutal honesty, little brother. Nico shrugged and went back to his room. Ashley kept looking at the paper, torn between curiosity and doubt. Why would Dmitry do this? What was he planning? She thought about it all day, did the laundry, cleaned the house, watched 2 episodes of some random show, but the invitation stayed on the kitchen table like a stubborn reminder. On Friday night, she made a decision. Nico, I'm going out tomorrow night. Will you be okay on your own? Sure, I'm not a kid anymore. Great, because if I don't come back, call the police. You're being dramatic again. Always. On Saturday, Ashley spent the afternoon picking out what to wear. She didn't want to look too dressed up, but she couldn't go looking sloppy either. She ended up choosing black pants, a simple white blouse, and a leather jacket her mom had left behind. She tied her hair up in a loose bun, put on a light lipstick, and looked at herself in the mirror. All right, no fairy tale princess. Just me. She took a cab to the address on the invitation. It was a 5-star hotel in the heart of Manhattan. The event hall was decorated with Volkov Foundation banners, white flowers, and soft lighting. There were security guards at the door checking names on a list. Ashley arrived, showed her invitation, and was let in. She walked in slowly, taking it all in. There were at least 200 people there. Executives, business owners, well-dressed young professionals. Everyone looked important. She, on the other hand, felt completely out of place. She found a quiet spot at the back of the auditorium and sat down. No one noticed her, which was just fine. The event began with live music, followed by formal speeches from members of the foundation. Ashley yawned quietly, trying not to look bored. Then the lights dimmed and a spotlight lit up the stage. Dmitry Volkov stepped up. Ashley felt her heart race. He wore a dark suit, simple, not flashy. His hair was neatly styled, but his expression had changed. More serious, more mature. Dmitry took the microphone and waited for complete silence before he began. "Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here." His voice echoed through the room, steady and clear. "I've never been good at speeches. Not really. My father used to say I talked too much and listened too little." Some quiet chuckles. "But recently I learned something important. I learned that respect can't be bought. It's not something you inherit. It doesn't come with a last name or a bank account." Ashley tilted her head, paying closer attention. Respect is earned. And sometimes, we only realize that when someone has the courage to hold up a mirror. He paused, looking out over the crowd. "For a long time, I believed power meant success, that money could fix anything, that I could do whatever I wanted because I had the means to do it." The room was silent. But a few weeks ago, I met someone who taught me something no university ever could. That person showed me the real meaning of dignity. Ashley felt her stomach turn. "And so tonight, I'm announcing a new scholarship. This isn't your typical scholarship. It's not based on grades or a resume. It's for people who, even in hard situations, held on to their integrity. People who didn't lower their heads. People who teach us, without even trying, how to be better." He took a deep breath. "And the first person to receive this scholarship is Ashley Garcia." Her name echoed like thunder. Ashley froze. The lights came back on, and the spotlight scanned the room until they found her, sitting in the back, completely still. Everyone turned. Hundreds of eyes on her. Ashley's legs trembled. Her heart pounded so loudly it felt like it would burst. Dmitry smiled from the stage. "Ashley, would you come up, please?" She wanted to run, to disappear. But something made her stand. She walked down the aisle, unsure of her steps, her face warm. People clapped, some smiled, others took photos. She climbed the steps to the stage and stood face to face with Dmitry. He held a framed certificate and an envelope. "You taught me more than any university ever did," he said, just loud enough for her to hear, but close enough for the microphone to catch. Ashley's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked quickly to hold them back. "I didn't do anything but be myself." Dmitry smiled, "And that's exactly why." He handed her the certificate. Ashley held it with both hands, trembling. The audience broke into loud applause. Dmitry stepped back, still looking at her, like he wanted to say more but couldn't find the words. Ashley just nodded, quietly thanking him, and stepped down from the stage as quickly as she could. She slipped out through a side door before anyone could stop her. She walked down the hallway, breathing fast, trying to take it all in. She leaned against a wall, the certificate still in her hands, and finally let the tears fall. They weren't sad tears. They were tears of relief, of surprise, of something she couldn't quite name. She wiped her face, fixed her hair, and left the hotel. Outside, Dmitry appeared, a little out of breath, like he'd been running. "Ashley, wait." She stopped, but didn't turn around. "What do you want now?" "I just wanted to make sure you're okay." "I'm fine. Thank you for the scholarship and the surprise and everything." "You don't need to thank me." She finally turned to face him, her expression softer. "Yes, I do. You didn't have to do that." "I know, but I wanted to." They stood in silence for a few moments. The city noise around them felt far away. Ashley gave him a small smile. "Good night, Dmitry." "Good night, Ashley." And she walked away, disappearing into the sidewalk crowd. Dmitry stayed where he was, watching her go, feeling something new, something he'd never felt before, true respect. In the days that followed, Ashley tried to take it all in. The scholarship covered a literature course at New York University. It was exactly what she'd always dreamed of, but never thought was possible. Nico was beyond excited. "You're going to be a teacher, like those in the movies that everyone loves." Ashley laughed. "Easy, I still have to study first." but it's going to be amazing, and you can finally quit that restaurant job for good." She had already given up, but now, for the first time, she felt like she had a future ahead of her. 2 weeks later, she got a call from the language school where Nico had taken the scholarship test months ago. "Miss Garcia, we have great news. Your brother was accepted for the full scholarship." Ashley nearly dropped the phone. "Really?" "Yes, he starts next semester." She hung up and hugged Nico so tight he complained. "Ash, you're choking me." "You got in. You got in. I know I'm amazing." She laughed, crying at the same time. Things were finally starting to fall into place. Ashley started tutoring Russian and Spanish to help with expenses while studying. She posted about it on social media and, to her surprise, got some interest. The first student was an older woman who wanted to learn Russian to talk to her daughter-in-law. The second was a teenage boy who needed help with Spanish for school. And the third student was Dmitry Volkov. Ashley opened the door and found him standing outside her apartment, notebook under his arm, looking a little embarrassed. "What are you doing here?" "I saw your ad. Thought maybe I should learn Russian for real." Ashley crossed her arms. "You know I charge by the hour, right?" "I know. And I don't give billionaire discounts. I know that too." She sighed, but couldn't help smiling. "Come in." The lesson started off formal. Ashley taught basic vocabulary, pronunciation, simple phrases. Dmitry made a lot of mistakes, but took it in stride. "No, it's not zdravstvуй, it's здравствуйте, with an E at the end." Zdravstvуйте? Better. Still a little weird, but better. He chuckled. "You're a tough teacher, and you're a stubborn student." Over time, the lessons became more relaxed. Dmitry shared funny stories from work. Ashley laughed, corrected him, teased him. "So you really bought part of a restaurant just to help me?" Seemed like a good idea at the time. It was a crazy idea. "I know." Ashley smiled, "But thank you, really. You've already thanked me 10 times, and I'll thank you 10 more. They grew closer slowly, with no rush, no pressure. Just conversations, laughter, and a connection that kept growing without either of them realizing. But there was something neither of them talked about. Dmitry never said how guilty he still felt about what he did that night at the restaurant. And Ashley never said that sometimes she thought about him more than she probably should. The truth hadn't been spoken yet, not by him, not by her. The lessons continued over the next few weeks. Dmitry always arrived on time, notebook in hand, focused expression. Ashley welcomed him with fresh coffee and a list of new words to practice. "Today we're going to work on numbers," she announced, sitting across from him. "Numbers? That's easy." "In Russian? I doubt it." Dmitry opened his notebook, feeling confident. "Go on. How do you say 23? He hesitated. "Dvatsat. Try?" Ashley made a face. "Close, but it sounded more like dvatsa what?" He laughed. "All right, teacher, correct me. Dvatsat, try. Stress on the dva." Dmitry repeated it, but it still came out a little off. Ashley shook her head, trying not to laugh. "You're talented at a lot of things, but Russian isn't one of them." "Thanks for the brutal honesty. You're welcome, it's free." They laughed together, and for a moment they were just two regular people. No messy past, no viral videos, no restaurants or billions of dollars. During a break, Dmitry looked out the window. It had started to rain. "Have you ever thought about teaching professionally? Like at a school?" Ashley took a sip of coffee. "I've thought about it, but I'm still early in college. I need to finish first." "And after that?" "After that? Who knows, Nat? Maybe I'll open my own language school." Dmitry smiled. "You'd be great at it." "You think so?" "I'm sure. You're patient, funny, and straight to the point. People need that." Ashley looked away, a little shy. "Thanks." They were quiet for a few seconds. The rain tapped gently on the window, creating a soft rhythm. Dmitry stirred his coffee, thinking, "You know, I never had a normal childhood." Ashley looked at him, surprised by the sudden shift. "What do you mean?" "My father was obsessed with business. For as long as I can remember, it was all about contacts, contracts, and investments. I didn't have real friends, just other businessmen's kids my parents thought were acceptable." Ashley frowned. "That must have been lonely." "It was. I grew up thinking money fixed everything. That power meant happiness. It took me years to realize I was wrong." She stayed quiet, just listening. "And you?" he asked, meeting her eyes. "What was your childhood like?" Ashley sighed, stirring her empty cup. "Very different from yours. We didn't have much money, but we had love. My mom worked as a freelance translator, spent hours in front of the computer, but always made time for me and Nico. She sounds like she was amazing. She was. She was funny, smart, patient. She used to teach us languages while she cooked. I learned Russian just by hearing her translate documents out loud. Dmitri smiled. So she gave you that secret weapon. Ashley let out a soft laugh. She did. She always said, knowledge is the one thing no one can take from you. And she was right. And when she passed, Ashley took a deep breath. Cancer. 5 years ago. It happened fast. By the time we realized it was already too late. I'm sorry. Me too. But life goes on, right? I had to take care of Nico. There was no time to stop. Dmitri looked at her with an admiration he didn't try to hide. You're strong. I didn't have a choice. The rain kept falling. Dmitri looked toward the window and suddenly he had an idea. Let's grab a coffee. Somewhere else, I mean. Ashley hesitated. Now? It's raining. Exactly. Rainy days are perfect for coffee. She laughed. All right, but you're paying. Of course. They grabbed umbrellas and went outside. The street was wet, the sky gray, but there was something nice in the air. They walked to a small cafe just 2 blocks away. They sat by the window, ordered coffee and a slice of carrot cake to share. So, Ashley said, cutting the cake with her fork, why did you really want to learn Russian? It can't just be because of that night. Dmitri stirred his coffee. At first, it was pride. I wanted to prove I could do it. But now, it's different. Different how? Now it's because I like spending time with you. Ashley stopped chewing. Her face grew warm. Dmitri? You don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to know. She swallowed the bite of cake, trying to stay calm. You're a little too direct sometimes. Sorry, that's a flaw of mine. They sat in silence for a moment. The rain tapped gently against the glass. Dmitri took a deep breath like he was working up the courage. Ashley, there's something I need to tell you. She frowned. What? When everything happened at the restaurant, I got curious about you. Really curious. And I had someone look into your life. Ashley froze. You did what? I know it was wrong, but I needed to understand who you were. She set her fork down, her expression hardening. You looked into my life like I was a criminal? It wasn't like that. Then what was it, Dmitri? You hired a private investigator, dug through my past, found out about my mom, about Nico, about everything? He lowered his eyes. Yes. Ashley stood up, shaking with anger. You're still trying to control everything with information. You haven't changed, have you? You think money and power give you the right to invade someone's life. Ashley, please. No, I don't want to hear it. She grabbed her bag and walked out of the cafe, ignoring the rain soaking her hair and clothes. Dmitri stayed seated, alone, watching her through the fogged-up window as she disappeared. Ashley walked quickly, tears mixing with the rain. She got home drenched, slammed the door, and leaned against it, breathing fast. Ash, what happened? Nico came into the hallway but stopped when he saw her face. Nothing, just forget it. She went to her room, changed clothes, and laid down on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Why had she believed he could change? Why had she let her guard down? She stayed there for hours, trying to process everything. It wasn't until evening that she noticed Nico had been too quiet. She came out of the room and found him sitting at the kitchen table, staring at a piece of paper. Nico, is everything okay? He looked up, his eyes red. Ash, I messed up. She walked over, heart sinking. What happened? He handed her the paper. It was a suspension notice from school. Ashley read it quickly. Nico had gotten into a fight with another student. 3 days of suspension. Nico, what happened? He kept making fun of my clothes, said I looked like a beggar. I just lost it. Ashley sighed and sat next to him. You can't fight because of that. I know, but I was angry at everything. School, people, just everything. She hugged her brother, feeling the weight of the world pressing on her. We'll figure this out, okay? Nico just nodded. Ashley went to bed late, but she couldn't sleep. Her mind was a mess. Dmitri, Nico, the suspension. Everything felt like it was falling apart again. The next morning, the doorbell rang. Ashley opened the door, still in her pajamas, and found a man in a suit holding an envelope. Ashley Garcia? That's me. You've been served. He handed her the envelope and walked away. Ashley opened it with trembling hands. It was a court summons. The new owner of La Fiore was suing her for breach of contract. She sat on the floor, the paper falling from her hands. It was too much. Everything at once. Dimitri, Nico, and now this. She sat there trying to breathe. Then the doorbell rang again. She opened the door expecting more bad news. But it was Dimitri. His face looked tired, his eyes full of concern. Ashley, I need to talk to you. She crossed her arms. Now's not a good time. I know about the subpoena. Her eyes widened. How do you know that? I have contacts, and when I found out, I came right away. Ashley gave a humorless laugh. Of course you did. You always know everything, don't you? Always digging, always trying to control. That's not it. I just want to help. Help? How? Buying more things? Fixing more problems? Now do you see why I can't afford to trust you? Dimitri stepped closer. I know I made a mistake. I know I crossed a line, and I'm truly sorry, but I promise I'll help you fix this. Ashley shook her head, tired. I don't know if I want your help, Dimitri. I don't know if I want to be saved. Maybe I need to keep fighting on my own. He stayed quiet, his eyes filled with tears. You don't have to fight alone, not this time. Ashley looked at him, torn between anger and the wish to believe him. I need time to think. That's fine, but when you decide, I'll be here. And he left. Ashley closed the door, leaned against it, and finally let the tears fall. The next few days were tense. Ashley tried to meet with a public attorney, but the wait list was long. The subpoena had a deadline, and she had no idea how to handle it on her own. Nico noticed something was off. Ash, you're not eating. You're not sleeping. I'm fine. No, you're not. And I know it has to do with that paper that came. She sighed. It's complicated, Nico, but I'll figure it out. Alone? Ashley looked at her brother. He was growing up too fast, maturing too fast. I don't know yet. The next morning, the doorbell rang. Ashley opened the door expecting more problems, but there stood a younger man in a suit, holding a briefcase. Ashley Garcia? Yes. My name is Thomas Reed. I'm a lawyer. I've been hired to represent you in the case against La Fiore. Ashley's eyes widened. Hired? By who? Thomas gave a small smile. I think you already know. She closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. Dimitri. He asked me to handle the case, and I have good news. The lawsuit was dropped last night. Ashley blinked, confused. Dropped? What do you mean? The new owner of the restaurant decided not to move forward. Apparently, there was an out-of-court agreement. What kind of agreement? Thomas hesitated. I can't go into detail, but let's just say Mr. Volkov was very persuasive. Ashley crossed her arms. He paid the guy off, didn't he? Thomas didn't answer, but his expression said enough. Anyway, you're in the clear. No more lawsuit. Here are the documents. He handed her a folder. Ashley took it, still trying to process. Thank you. No need to thank me. Thank him. And he left. Ashley closed the door, looked at the papers and felt a mix of relief and frustration. Dimitri had fixed the problem. Again, with money, with power. But this time, she wasn't sure whether to be angry or grateful. That afternoon, she picked up her phone and called him. Hello? You don't give up, do you? There was a pause. Ashley? You took care of the lawsuit, thank you. But that doesn't erase everything that happened. I know. Then why do you keep doing this? Dimitri sighed on the other end. Because I care, and because I want to show you I'm changing. Ashley stayed quiet. Look, he continued, I know you still don't trust me, and that's okay. But there's a charity event on Friday. It's for the foundation, and I need an interpreter. Dimitri, this isn't an excuse. There'll be several Russian investors. I really do need someone who speaks the language. Ashley gave another dry laugh. You're making this up. Maybe. But would you come anyway? She bit her lip, thinking, I'll think about it. That's something. He hung up. Nico came into the room. Who was that? The guy who solved my problem and now wants me to go to some fancy event with him. Like a date? No. Like, work. Sure. Work. Nico rolled his eyes. You like him, don't you? Ashley threw a pillow at him. Shut up. But deep down, she knew he was right. On Friday night, Ashley got ready. She chose a simple black dress, elegant, not flashy. She tied her hair into a low bun and put on some soft red lipstick. Nico whistled when she came out of the room. Look at you. Cut it out. You look amazing. He's gonna lose his mind. Nico, seriously. I'm just being honest. Dimitri came to pick her up at 7. He wore a dark suit, black tie, and had his hair slicked back. Ashley walked down and he looked at her like he'd forgotten how to breathe. You look incredible. Thanks. You look nice too. They got in the car. The driver said nothing while they exchanged subtle glances. Nervous? Dimitri asked. A little. It's been a while since I went to something like this. You'll do fine. You just need to translate a few conversations. The rest is just enjoy yourself. Enjoying a room full of millionaires isn't exactly my thing, he smiled. Then pretend it is. It works. Ashley laughed. Great advice. The event was held in a large hall decorated with golden lights, white flowers, and elegant tables. There were at least 300 people, all dressed impeccably. Ashley felt out of place again, but Dimitri gently held her arm. Relax. You belong anywhere you choose to be. She looked at him surprised. That was almost poetic. I'm trying. They spent the evening mingling. Ashley translated conversations, helped Dimitri close a few deals, and in the middle of it all found herself laughing at inside jokes. Only the two of them understood. At one point, the music changed. A slow waltz began to play. Dimitri reached out his hand. Will you dance with me? Ashley hesitated. I don't know how to waltz. Neither do I. Let's mess it up together. She laughed and took his hand. They walked to the center of the room. Dimitri guided her carefully, their steps a bit awkward at first, but soon they found a rhythm. Ashley looked up and saw his eyes fixed on her. You're staring again. Sorry. It's hard not to. She felt her face warm. Dimitri, I know, sorry. It's just, you're different from anyone I've ever met. Different how? Real, no masks, no pretending. Ashley smiled but looked away. You're not exactly what I expected either. What do you mean? I thought you were just another rich, arrogant guy, but you have a heart. It was just kind of hidden. He smiled, moved. The music kept playing. They danced in silence, their bodies closed, the world around them seeming to fade. When the song ended, they stood still holding hands, looking at each other. Dimitri slowly leaned in, his eyes on her face. Ashley felt her heart race, but at the last second she pulled back. Not yet. He stopped, respecting her space. That's okay. No rush. She smiled, grateful. Thank you. They returned to the table. The rest of the evening passed quickly. They laughed, talked, and for a few hours everything felt right. But the next day reality came back. Ashley received a letter in the mail. Nervously, she opened it and read the heading, Boston University, Full Scholarship Program. Congratulations, Ashley Garcia. Your application has been approved. She read it 3 times, not quite believing it. Nico walked into the room, saw her expression, and asked, What is it? I got in. Boston? Full scholarship. Nico screamed with joy and hugged her. I knew it. You're amazing. Ashley smiled but didn't quite reach her eyes. Yeah, amazing. Nico noticed. Why aren't you happy? I am. It's just, Boston's far. So what? This is your chance. Ash, you've always wanted this. I know. But what about you and everything here? Nico held her shoulders. I'll be fine. You have to go. For you. Ashley hugged her brother, her eyes filling with tears. She spent the day thinking. Boston was an incredible opportunity, but it meant leaving New York, leaving Nico, leaving Dimitri. That night he showed up at her door. Can I come in? Of course. They sat on the couch. Ashley told him about the scholarship. Dimitri was quiet for a few seconds. Are you going to accept it? I'm not sure yet. Ashley, this is your chance. You can't turn it down because of me. It's not just about you. It's everything. Nico, the life I built here. Dimitri took her hand. If you go, go for you. But if you ever come back for us. Ashley felt the tears fall. I don't know if I'll come back, I know, but I'll wait. She looked at him, her heart breaking. Dimitri, you don't have to say anything. Just go and be happy. They sat there holding hands in silence. A week later, Ashley was at the airport, suitcase in hand with Nico beside her. You'll call me every day, right? Every day, I promise. Nico hugged his sister tightly. I love you, Ash. I love you too. Dimitri showed up at the last minute. Ashley hadn't expected to see him. I came to say goodbye. She smiled, her eyes red. Thank you. For everything. He held out his hand. She took it. It was a long handshake full of everything they couldn't say. Good luck, Ashley. Thank you, Dimitri. And she boarded the plane. Dimitri stood there watching the plane take off, his heart heavy. In the weeks that followed, everything changed. La Fiore closed its doors. The investor group fell apart. Dimitri decided to start over. He sold part of his businesses, donated to social causes, and began planning something new, something that made sense to the heart. He opened a small cafe. Simple, welcoming, a place where people could truly connect. He called it Words. And as he served coffee and listened to people's stories, he thought about Ashley. He didn't know if she'd ever come back. 2 years passed like pages turning slowly. Ashley returned to New York on an autumn morning with a heavy suitcase, a literature degree under her arm, and a confidence she hadn't had before. Boston had changed her. She studied, grew, matured. But Manhattan always pulled at her heart. Nico was waiting at the train station, taller, stronger, almost unrecognizable. "Oh my gosh, you've grown up!" Ashley exclaimed, dropping her suitcase to hug him. "And you turned into a fancy professor." He replied with a wide smile. "I'm not a professor yet, I just have a degree." Same thing. They took a cab back to the apartment. Everything looked the same, but at the same time, different. New pictures on the walls. The fridge was full. Nico had taken care of everything. "You managed pretty well on your own," Ashley said, looking around. "I had to grow up. Someone had to pay the bills." Ashley laughed but felt a tightness in her chest. Nico had grown up way too fast. "And school? How's that going?" "I finished. Got into NYU. I start next semester." Ashley's eyes widened. "Really, Nico? Why didn't you tell me?" "I wanted to tell you in person. Surprise." She hugged her brother again, full of pride. "You're amazing." "I learned from the best." In the days that followed, Ashley began to settle back in. She sent out resumes, went to interviews, and after a few tries, landed a job at an independent publishing house in Brooklyn. It wasn't a big company, but it was exactly what she wanted. Books, stories, words. On her first day, she met the team. They were all young, creative, passionate about literature. The company published new authors, poetry, indie fiction. Ashley fit right in. At lunch, her desk mate, a woman with curly hair named Jenna, made a suggestion. "Let's go to that new coffee shop on the corner. People say it's amazing." "What's it called?" "Words." Kinda poetic, right? Ashley felt something stir at the name but couldn't explain why. "Let's go." The cafe was small and cozy, with exposed brick walls, rustic wooden tables, and the rich smell of fresh coffee. But what caught Ashley's eye was the mural on the back wall. It was covered in handwritten poems, each written in elegant script. Every one of them was signed only with the letter D. Ashley stepped closer, reading them one by one. She returned, "In every word I wrote, in the verbs I conjugated alone, in the lines that couldn't say goodbye." Another read, "I learned Russian to impress you, but it was your eyes that taught me the language of the heart." Ashley felt her chest tighten. That couldn't be a coincidence. Jenna appeared beside her, holding 2 coffees. "Beautiful, right? People say the owner writes them all." "Who's the owner?" "No idea. He rarely shows up. The baristas handle everything." Ashley looked around, but didn't see anyone who seemed like the owner. Just 2 young baristas serving coffee. She went back to the office, but couldn't stop thinking about the poems. Over the next few days, she returned to the cafe, always alone, always reading the poems, trying to figure out who D was. But he never showed up. Then, on a cloudy Thursday, while Ashley was sipping coffee and reading a manuscript, the door to the cafe opened, and Dmitry Volkov walked in. He looked different. His hair a bit longer, his beard a little rough, wearing simple clothes, jeans and a white shirt. But his eyes were the same. Ashley froze, her cup suspended in midair. Dmitry saw her and stopped in his tracks. For a few seconds they just stared at each other. It was Ashley who broke the silence. "So it's you." Dmitry took a step forward, hesitant. "You're back." She set her cup down, trying to calm her racing heart. "You never left my pages." He smiled, a small, shy smile. "Can I sit? It's your cafe. You can do whatever you want." Dmitry sat across from her, his hands nervous on the table. "Are you okay?" "I am. And you?" "Better now." Ashley looked away, holding back a smile. "The poems, they're yours, aren't they?" He nodded. "I started writing after you left, at first just to let things out. Then it became a habit." "They're beautiful. Thank you." They sat in silence for a few moments, the cafe's soft background noise filling the space. "How was Boston?" he asked. "Incredible. Tough, but incredible. I learned a lot. I grew a lot." "I figured you seemed different." "Different how?" "More confident, more you." Ashley smiled. "And you? What happened these past 2 years?" Dmitry took a deep breath. "A lot. I closed the restaurant, sold part of my business, donated a bunch of money, and opened this cafe." "Why?" "Because I needed something real. Something that made sense, and words always made sense to me, especially after meeting you." Ashley felt her face warm. "Dmitry? Sorry, I'm not trying to pressure you, it's just good to see you." "It's good to see you too." They talked for hours, about Boston, about the cafe, about Nico, about life. They laughed, remembered things, reconnected. When the cafe started to close, Dmitry asked, "Want to go for a walk?" Ashley hesitated but agreed. They walked together through the streets of New York. The city was glowing, full of life. They passed shops, parks, bridges. Dmitry talked about the challenges of opening the cafe. Ashley told stories from her classes in Boston, her professors, the books she read. "I missed you," he said suddenly, stopping in the middle of the sidewalk. Ashley turned around, surprised. "I missed you too." "Really?" "Yes, the talks, the laughs, you." Dmitry took a step closer. "I thought about you every single day." Ashley felt her heart race. "Dmitry, You don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to know." They kept walking until they reached a bridge over the East River. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. They stopped in the middle of the bridge, looking out at the horizon. Dmitry, a little unsure, held her hand. Ashley looked down at their hands, then at him, and she didn't let go. They stood there in silence, just feeling each other's presence. "Ashley, there's something I want to ask you." "What?" "There's a literary conference tomorrow night. They're giving awards to some independent authors. I would like you to go with me." Ashley frowned. "Why?" "Because I want you there. It's important." "Important how?" Dmitry smiled mysteriously. "You'll see." Ashley laughed. "All right, I'll go." He gently squeezed her hand. "Thank you." They walked back home slowly, like they wanted to make the moment last as long as possible. When they reached Ashley's building, he said goodbye with a long hug. "See you tomorrow." "See you tomorrow." Ashley went up, stepped into her apartment, and leaned against the door, her heart still racing. Nico appeared from the kitchen with a mischievous smile. "So, how'd it go?" "How'd what go?" "The reunion with the romantic billionaire." Ashley tossed her bag on the couch. "It wasn't a big deal." "Sure, that's why you look like you just won the lottery." She laughed, unable to hide it. "He invited me to a literary conference tomorrow." "Like a date?" "I don't know. He said it's important." Nico crossed his arms. "Ash, you still like him, don't you?" She hesitated. I don't know. It's been so long. Time doesn't erase feelings. It just tests if they're real." Ashley looked at her brother, impressed. "When did you get so wise?" "I've always been. You just didn't notice." She laughed and gave him a hug. The next day, Ashley was nervous all day. She tried to work but couldn't focus. Jenna noticed. "You're acting weird today." "I am?" "Yeah. Did something happen?" Ashley sighed. "I ran into someone important." Jenna smiled. "And now?" "Now, I don't know. I guess I'll find out tonight." That night, Ashley got ready carefully. She chose a simple dark green dress, elegant but low-key. She let her hair down, put on a light lipstick, and looked at herself in the mirror. "You've got this," she whispered. Dmitry picked her up at 7. He wore a suit, no tie, hair neatly combed, eyes bright. "You look beautiful." "Thank you. You look nice too." They got in the car and headed to the event. It was held in a small theater downtown in Manhattan. Around 100 people were there, all connected to the literary world. Ashley recognized a few names. Authors she admired, editors, critics. "Why did you bring me here?" she asked, curious. Dmitry smiled. "You'll see." They sat in the middle row. The event started with introductions, speeches, awards. Ashley watched, interested, but still didn't understand why Dmitry had insisted so much. Until the host announced, "And now to close the night, we have a special surprise. One of our sponsors would like to make an announcement." Dmitry stood up. Ashley's eyes widened. "What are you doing?" He just winked and walked up to the stage. He took the microphone, took a deep breath, and looked directly at Ashley. "Good evening, everyone. My name is Dmitry Volkov, and 2 years ago, I met someone who changed my life." Ashley felt her heart pound. "This person taught me that respect isn't something you can buy, that dignity has no price, and that words have the power to transform." He paused, still looking at her. "Tonight, I want to make an announcement, but first, I need to ask a question." Ashley's knees felt weak. "Ashley Garcia, will you—" The theater fell completely silent. Ashley, not knowing what was coming, just waited. Dmitry took a deep breath. The microphone trembled slightly in his hand. The room stayed quiet. Every eye was on him. Ashley's heart was beating so loud it felt like the whole room could hear it. And then, with a nervous smile, Dmitry said the sentence that changed everything. "I'll give you $5,000. If you say yes in Russian." For a moment, no one reacted. Then the audience broke into laughter and applause. Ashley's eyes went wide, her mouth slightly open, caught between shock and laughter. Dmitri stepped off the stage, walking toward her, still smiling nervously but with a spark in his eyes. "So?" he asked, holding out his hand. "Do you say yes?" Ashley stood up, her legs shaking, trying to hold back laughter and tears at the same time. She looked at him, then at the crowd, then at all the smiling faces waiting. And then, with a steady but emotional voice, she answered in Russian. "Da. Yes." The audience erupted again, this time in thunderous applause. Dmitri smiled wide, relieved, and suddenly dropped to one knee. Ashley covered her mouth with her hands, her eyes wide. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket and opened it, revealing a simple, elegant ring with a modest stone that sparkled under the theater lights. "Ashley Garcia," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "You've taught me more than any university ever could. You taught me to respect, to listen, to feel, and I don't want to spend another day without you by my side. Will you marry me?" Ashley felt the tears fall freely now. She couldn't speak, she just nodded, whispering softly, "Yes, yes, yes." Dmitri stood up, slipped the ring onto her finger, and hugged her tightly, spinning her in the air as the audience stood, clapping. Phones were raised, flashes went off, and Ashley knew that moment was being filmed, broadcast, shared. But she didn't care. For the first time, she truly didn't care. Suddenly, a familiar voice shouted from the back of the theater, "Took you long enough." Ashley looked up and saw Nico walking onto the stage, holding a homemade sign that read, "Finally!" She burst out laughing, running to hug her brother. "You knew about this?" "Of course. He called me yesterday to ask for permission. I told him if he didn't do it soon, I would do it for him." Ashley laughed through her tears, hugging both Nico and Dmitri at once. The crowd kept cheering, whistling, and laughing. Dmitri grabbed the microphone again, still holding Ashley. "Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Ashley, for giving me a second chance. For showing me that pride means nothing without respect." Ashley took the microphone from his hands, wiping her tears. "And thank you, Dmitri, for showing me that even the arrogant can learn." The audience laughed and applauded again. They walked off the stage holding hands, surrounded by people congratulating them, taking photos, asking questions. Local reporters who were covering the event rushed over for interviews. Influencers streamed everything live. Within minutes, the proposal was trending on social media. The most romantic proposal of the year. From Waitress and Millionaire to Engaged, the story of Ashley and Dmitri. He offered $5,000 again, but this time, it was for love. Ashley read the headlines on her phone while Dmitri pulled the car out of the parking lot. "We're back in the news," she said, laughing. "This time, for the right reason." Nico, sitting in the back seat, rolled his eyes. "You two are like celebrities now. Should I start charging for autographs?" Ashley turned around and gave him a light slap on the arm. "Be quiet." "Ow. Abuse?" Dmitri laughed, watching through the rearview mirror. "Nico, you know you're officially my brother-in-law now, right?" "I know, and I plan to use it to my advantage. I expect expensive Christmas presents." "Noted." They dropped Nico off at home. He hugged his sister at the door. "I'm proud of you, Ash. Thank you, little brother, for everything. Now go and be happy. You deserve it." Ashley kissed his forehead and got back in the car. Dmitri drove through the streets of Manhattan without any particular destination. Just the two of them, the city lights all around, and a comfortable silence between them. They stopped at an empty plaza, lit by old-style street lamps. They got out of the car and walked hand in hand. "You really planned all this?" Ashley asked, still trying to process everything. "I did. With Nico's help, of course. He was key." "He's a traitor." Dmitri laughed. "He just wants you to be happy." Ashley stopped walking and looked at him. "You taught me Russian, but more than that, you taught me how to feel." She smiled, squeezing his hand. "And you showed me that even the arrogant can learn." He pulled her closer, their faces just inches apart. "I love you, Ashley." She felt her heart racing. "I love you too." And then, finally, they kissed. It was a long kiss, slow, deep, full of everything they hadn't been able to say in 2 years, full of longing, of forgiveness, of a new beginning. When they pulled apart, they were both smiling. "Want to come to my place?" Dmitri asked, a bit hesitant. Ashley looked into his eyes, saw the sincerity, the longing, the love. "Let's go." Dmitri's apartment was in an upscale building, but the inside was surprisingly simple. No luxury, just cozy furniture, shelves filled with books, and a stunning view of the city. Ashley walked over to the window, gazing at the lights of New York. It's beautiful here. Dmitry came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. It's even better with you here. She turned in his arms, her eyes meeting his. Dmitry, you don't have to say anything. No rush, no pressure. But Ashley shook her head. No, I want to be here, with you. He kissed her again, this time more intensely. Her hands went up to his neck, her fingers tangled in his hair. They moved slowly toward the bedroom, each step filled with anticipation, desire, and love. The night was theirs. Only theirs. They laughed, explored each other, made love. There was no rush. No need for words. Only the connection that had been growing since that night at the restaurant 2 years ago. When they finally fell asleep, they were wrapped around each other, breathing in sync, their hearts beating as one. The next morning, Ashley woke up to the smell of fresh coffee. She opened her eyes slowly and saw Dmitry in the kitchen, back turned, making breakfast. She smiled, grabbed his shirt from the chair, and walked over to him. Good morning. He turned around, smiling. Good morning, future Mrs. Volkov. Who says I'm changing my last name? Dmitry laughed. Fair enough. Mrs. Garcia does sound better. She hugged him from behind, resting her face on his back. Thank you. For what? For waiting, for insisting, for not giving up on me. He turned in her arms, holding her face in both hands. I would never give up on you. They had breakfast together, talking about plans, the future, and how to tell their friends. We need to pick a date, Ashley said, biting into a piece of toast. Do you want something big? No, simple. Just us, Nico, a few friends. No showy stuff. Dmitry smiled. Perfect. Ashley picked up her phone and saw hundreds of notifications. Messages from friends, co-workers at the publishing house, even people she hadn't heard from in years. Everyone's talking about us, she said, laughing. Does it bother you? No, not this time. Because this time it wasn't about shame or scandal, it was about love. They spent the rest of the day together, planning, laughing, dreaming. In the afternoon, Ashley went home to see Nico. He was in the living room, on the computer, probably watching the proposal video for the 1000th time. So? How was the night? He asked, without taking his eyes off the screen. Ashley threw a pillow at him. None of your business. That means it was good. She laughed, sitting beside him. It was perfect. Nico finally looked at her, serious. Are you happy? Very. Then I'm happy too. Ashley hugged her brother. Thank you for everything, Nico. For holding things together while I was in Boston, for growing up so fast, for being amazing. Someone had to be the responsible sibling. She laughed and messed up his hair. That night, Dmitry called. Hi. Hi. Miss me already? A little. He laughed. Me too. But we'll see each other again tomorrow and the day after that, and every day after that. Ashley smiled. Promise? I promise. They hung up, but the smile stayed on her face. She lay in bed, looking at the ring on her finger, still trying to believe it was all real. 2 years ago, she was a waitress standing up for her dignity in a restaurant. Today, she was a college graduate, in love, about to marry the man who, though he started out as her biggest mistake, had become her greatest blessing. Life had a funny way of turning upside down, and this time, Ashley wasn't complaining. The next 3 months flew by. Ashley and Dmitry set the wedding for a sunny spring Saturday. No fancy halls or endless guest lists. They wanted something simple, intimate, and real. They chose a park in the heart of Manhattan, surrounded by blooming trees and a small lake reflecting the blue sky. Are you sure you don't want something bigger? Dmitry asked as they visited the place for the 3rd time. Ashley looked around, breathing deeply. I'm sure this is perfect. Nico came running across the grass testing the acoustics. You can hear really well from here. My poem's gonna be awesome. Ashley turned, surprised. Your what? My poem. You didn't think I'd miss the chance to speak at my sister's wedding, did you? Dmitry laughed. He asked me for permission last week, and of course I said yes. Ashley shook her head, smiling. You two are impossible. The guest list was small but meaningful. Lucia, her friend from the restaurant, confirmed she'd be there. Jenna and a few co-workers from the publishing house too. Loyal customers from the Palavras Cafe got handwritten invitations. And some of Ashley's college friends came from Boston. There were no formal bridesmaids or groomsmen. Just Nico, who insisted on being the unofficial master of ceremonies. Someone has to make sure this party doesn't get boring, he said. Ashley spent the night before the wedding at the apartment with Nico. Dmitry respected the tradition of not seeing the bride before the ceremony. Nervous? Nico asked as they ate pizza in the living room. A little. What if I trip walking in or forget my vows? Ash, you memorized War and Peace in Russian. I think you can remember 3 lines. She laughed. True. Nico got serious for a moment. Mom would be proud of you. Ashley felt her eyes well up. You think so? I'm sure. She always said you were strong. And just look at you now. Graduated, in love, happy. It's everything she ever wanted. Ashley hugged her brother. Thank you, Nico, for everything. Hey, don't cry now. Save the tears for tomorrow. She laughed through her tears. On the morning of the wedding, the sky was perfect. Not a cloud in sight. Ashley woke up early, her stomach in knots with nerves and excitement. Jenna arrived early to help with her makeup and hair. You look beautiful, Jenna said, stepping back to admire her. Ashley looked in the mirror. The dress was simple, made of light fabric, white with subtle details. Her hair was loose in soft waves with tiny white flowers woven through. Does it really look okay? It's perfect. Dmitry's going to faint when he sees you. Nico showed up at the door, wearing a suit and freshly combed hair. Ready, sis? Ready. They arrived at the park just before noon. About 50 guests were already seated in white chairs arranged in a semicircle around a small altar decorated with wildflowers. Dmitry was there, wearing a light gray suit, no tie, clearly nervous. When he saw Ashley walking down the stone path, he stopped breathing. She walked slowly, holding a small lavender bouquet, smiling with tears in her eyes. Nico walked beside her, whispering, "Don't trip, don't trip." "Shut up," the crowd chuckled softly. When they reached the altar, Nico took his sister's hand and placed it in Dmitry's, then whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear, "Take care of her, or I'll be back." Dmitry smiled, "I promise." Ashley and Dmitry held hands, looking at each other like they were the only 2 people in the world. The officiant, a kind elderly man, began, "We are gathered here to celebrate the love between Ashley Garcia and Dmitry Volkov. 2 people who against all odds found something rare in each other, truth." The ceremony was short and moving, but the most touching moment came when Nico stepped up to the altar, holding a wrinkled piece of paper. "I wrote a poem, because, well, someone had to show Dmitry how it's done." The guests laughed. Nico cleared his throat and began. 2 stories that started apart, one with pride, the other with grace. He learned Russian. She taught respect. And along the way, they learned that love isn't about being right or wrong. It's about staying. Especially when it's hard. Ashley wiped away her tears. Dmitry squeezed her hand. Nico continued, "My sister taught me to be strong. But Dmitry showed me that strength is also saying you're sorry. And today, watching the 2 of them here, I've learned that true love isn't the kind that comes easy. It's the kind that chooses to stay." He finished with his voice trembling. Ashley ran to him and hugged him tightly, crying, "You're amazing, little brother." "I know." The crowd applauded. Then it was time for the vows. Dmitry took a deep breath and began, switching between Russian, English, and Spanish. "Ashley, you changed my life. You taught me that respect can't be bought, that dignity has no price, and that love is about choosing to stay every single day. I promise to respect you, to listen to you, to love you, in Russian, English, Spanish, or whatever language you want to teach me." The guests laughed through their tears. Ashley wiped her eyes and began her vows. "Dmitry, when I first met you, I thought you were just another arrogant guy with too much money, and well, I wasn't totally wrong." Laughter. "But over time, I saw you were so much more. You're someone who learns, who grows, who changes, and I promise to keep teaching you Russian as long as you keep making coffee for me every morning." Dmitry laughed and nodded. "I promise." "I love you, in every language, in every version, forever." The officiant smiled. "Then, by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride." And Dmitry kissed Ashley as the guests applauded, whistled, and cheered. The reception was simple and perfect. There was no hired band, just a carefully chosen playlist. When the same song from the scholarship event started to play, Ashley and Dmitry looked at each other and smiled. "Our song," he said. "Since when do we have a song?" "Since now." They danced in the middle of the lawn, surrounded by friends and family, remembering the first time they had danced, shy and uncertain. Now they were confident, in love, whole. Then came the bouquet toss. But instead of flowers, Ashley held a small poetry book. Whoever catches this book might find their next great love or at least a decent poem. She tossed it. Lucia caught it, laughing. I don't even want to get married. You do now. Everyone laughed. Then Dimitri got everyone's attention. Before we wrap things up, I have one last gift. He handed Ashley a huge bouquet, stuffed with dollar bills. Her eyes widened. Dimitri, this is $5,000. The crowd went silent. Ashley took one bill, examined it, and burst out laughing. They're fake. Dimitri smiled wide. Now you've truly learned how to use humor with elegance. Ashley hugged him, laughing and crying at the same time. You're impossible, and you love me anyway. Unfortunately. Before leaving for their honeymoon, Dimitri and Ashley stopped by the cafe Words to leave a note on the door. Dimitri wrote it by hand, closed until further notice. We're learning how to conjugate the verb to love. Ashley smiled. Poetic. I learned from the best. Nico showed up unexpectedly, holding a marker. Can I? Go ahead. He wrote on the poem wall, a happy ending is when two stories decide to be written on the same line. Ashley read it and hugged her brother. Perfect. The next morning, Ashley and Dimitri boarded their flight to Moscow, the first stop of their honeymoon. On the plane, sitting side by side, Ashley looked out the window and sighed. Are you okay? Dimitri asked. I am, just thinking about how much everything has changed. For the better? Much better. He held her hand. Thank you for giving me a chance, for believing I could change. Ashley turned and gave him a soft kiss. Thank you for truly changing. During the flight, they talked about their plans. After Moscow, they would head to Paris, a week in each city. And when we come back, Ashley asked, we'll live, work, love, build a life together. Just like that? Just like that. Ashley rested her head on his shoulder and closed her eyes. 2 years ago, she was standing alone in a restaurant, fighting for her dignity, afraid of losing her job. Today, she was on a plane, next to the man she loved, flying to the other side of the world. Life had a funny way of turning everything upside down, and this time, Ashley was thankful for every twist and turn. Because in the end, it had all been worth it. Every tear, every argument, every new beginning. It was worth it. And as the plane cut through the sky, Ashley smiled, knowing the best part of her life was just beginning. What did you think of Ashley and Dimitri's story? Let us know in the comments. Rate this story from 0 to 10. What score would you give? Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you don't miss any of our stories. And check out more emotional stories by clicking here on the end screen.